The palace didn't announce it with trumpets. No breaking banner. No dramatic appearance. Just one quiet update placed where few expected it. And yet, within minutes, it sent shockwaves through royal media across the world. Because for the first time in years, Buckingham Palace had finally spoken clearly and directly about Archie and Lilibet. And once people actually read what was written, many realized this wasn't a routine clarification. This was a line in the sand. For years, silence had been the palace's only response. And that silence gave the internet room to run wild. No ceremonial hospital step, no balcony moments, no carefully staged childhood photos like the public had grown used to. Just fragments, short announcements, then nothing. And in the digital age, nothing is rarely accepted as innocent. Rumors didn't just grow, they evolved. People analyzed shadows in photos, counted timelines, compared gestures, built entire theories out of missing details. What started as curiosity slowly hardened into belief for some audiences. And that is where everything became dangerous, because the shift didn't just happen online. It crept into everyday conversation. Older royal followers, the ones raised on tradition and transparency, began quietly asking why things felt different, and once doubt reaches that generation, it doesn't spread loudly. It spreads steadily. Behind palace walls, concerns were no longer theoretical. William began receiving digital briefings showing how deep the misinformation had sunk. Engagement charts were rising, not among fringe trolls, but among mainstream viewers. People who genuinely believed the palace was hiding something. That realization changed the tone instantly, but it wasn't William alone. Catherine saw the storm from a different angle. Through the eyes of a mother, she read the commentary, the insinuations, the way the toddlers were being turned into storylines by strangers. To her, this had crossed an invisible boundary. Whatever people thought about adults in the family was one thing, but children being used as symbols in rumor culture was something else entirely. And once that line was crossed, it couldn't simply be ignored, and was even more direct. She had watched what silence did to the monarchy before, how gaps invite invention, how hesitation allows falsehoods to grow teeth. When she placed viral screenshots in front of Charles, the tone shifted. These weren't just reckless posts anymore. They were shaping perception, quietly, persistently, and the longer the palace waited, the more official the rumors felt. But not everyone agreed on the cure. Camilla saw the rising noise and felt something very different. To her, responding meant feeding it, giving oxygen to speculation, drawing California back into the palace narrative at a time when distance felt safer. From her view, this wasn't about children. This was about institutional control, and she feared that once the palace broke silence here, it would never fully regain it. Inside Buckingham, winter air pressed against stone walls as meetings grew more frequent. Staff could feel it, that strange tension that settles into a building before a major shift. Communications teams warned the headlines were getting bolder. Some were now implying uncertainty where none officially existed. That word alone, uncertainty, rang like an alarm inside the monarchy, because uncertainty is where trust begins to fail. The real turning point came quietly. No shouting, no dramatic outburst, just a council chamber at Windsor, a long table, cold windows, and a family divided by philosophy. Camilla urged restraint, William pushed for action and demanded decisiveness. Catherine spoke of protection, and Charles listened longer than usual. The room didn't need raised voices. The stakes were already understood. Tradition versus survival, silence versus clarity. And in that moment, for the first time since ascending the throne, Charles chose adaptation over precedent. Prepare a statement. Those three words changed everything. The timing was deliberate. Late evening in Britain, mid-afternoon in the United States. A global release built not for drama, but for reach. When the notification quietly appeared online, the language was measured, calm, unemotional, and unmistakably firm. Archie and Lilibet were reaffirmed as legitimate members of the family. Their position clarified, their protection emphasized. No defensiveness, no apology, just truth delivered with finality. Within minutes, newsrooms reacted. Anchors shifted scripts live on air. Correspondents stood beneath street lamps outside Buckingham. Winter mist rolled behind them, and something unexpected happened. The usual chaos slowed. Ordinary viewers who had quietly absorbed years of speculation began reversing course in real time. Doubts softened. Certainty re-emerged. For many, the fog lifted not with with outrage, but with relief. Online, the reaction was immediate and hostile in the spaces that thrived on doubt. Some channels tried to twist the statement as proof of a cover-up, but for the first time in years, the broader audience pushed back hard. Comment sections shifted. The rhythm of misinformation finally stumbled, and inside royal residences across Britain, reactions unfolded very differently. William watched the announcement go live without speaking. Just once, when the tone across international news changed, he exhaled. Catherine offered no smile, only a quiet nod. For her, this was never about winning a narrative. It was about removing the children from it. And reviewing the aftermath with her usual blunt calm, considered the moment overdue, but necessary. A correction, not a concession. Camilla, however, felt the shift differently. The public quickly framed the outcome as a victory for the younger generation's thinking. And by contrast, her caution became visible. Whether fair or not, she recognized the shadow forming, the one that paints hesitation as indifference. And for someone deeply aware of image, that shadow lingered. Across the ocean, Harry and Meghan read the statement in silence. It wasn't reconciliation. It wasn't invitation. It didn't erase the fractures of the past, but it did something neither of them could do. From California, it restored official clarity around their children. For Meghan, it was validation. For Harry, it was proof that the argument he had carried for years had finally reached the heart of the institution. As the night settled over London, an unfamiliar stillness returned to Palace corridor. Not victory, not defeat, something in between. A pause after turbulence. The monarchy had spoken plainly, and in doing so, had exposed a deeper truth about the age it now lives in. Silence is no longer neutral. In a world where speculation travels faster than fact, absence creates story, gaps invite invention, and children, no matter how removed from public life, can be pulled into narratives they never chose. What began as curiosity turned into assumption, and assumption, left untouched, hardened into belief. The palace didn't step in to reclaim tradition, it stepped in to protect innocence. And maybe that's the quiet lesson behind all of this. Crowns fade, protocol evolves, power shifts hands, but the true measure of any institution is not how fiercely it guards its image, but how quickly it shields those too young to understand the storm around them. Because when history looks back at moments like this, it won't remember the headlines. It will remember whether the adults in the room chose silence or chose responsibility. And this time, they chose to speak. If you see how quickly a rumor can turn into truth when no one intervenes, you already understand why this moment matters far more than it first appeared.